Hey everybody, this is a fun size film that focuses on some of the key details of the STAR program, the Standardized Testing and Reporting Program, which is California's accountability system. Even though this accountability system is going away at the end of this academic year, you are still going to be using it during this academic year. So those of you who have questions should take a look at this, and if you still have questions, then let me know and I'll be happy to clarify things for you. So as you probably remember, No Child Left Behind, which was signed into law in 2001 and enacted in January of 2002, was a reauthorization of the Elementary and Secondary Education Act, and it came along after 45 years of unsuccessful efforts to establish educational equity, and it focused on standards-based education as a requirement for all states, with the intent that standards-based education would enable all kids to achieve at grade level by 2014. If you've forgotten the key elements of standards-based education, please take a moment to look at this slide. Pause the movie, take a moment to look at this, and then start up again. Here are the key features of No Child Left Behind that are most relevant to classroom teachers. We've talked about these last quarter in our first teaching and accountability course, but here they are if you want a quick review. When No Child Left Behind was implemented, California already had most of the required elements in place, including the standards, curriculum frameworks, textbooks and materials, and a standardized test system that was already aligned with the standards and expectations for NCLB. So we were in good shape. The STAR program requires standardized achievement tests to students in grades 2 through 12 every spring, but they're not tested in every content area every spring. English, language arts, and math are tested every year from grades 2 through 11, and you can see that science and social studies are tested much less frequently and much later, and they begin much later in the student's school career. The students' test results are slotted into one of 5 levels. The 2 levels that we're shooting for are proficient or advanced, and basic, below basic, and far below basic are not acceptable in terms of establishing students' proficiency. The STAR program, as a result of NCLB's expectations, focuses on 2 different types of data. Schools and districts are accountable for overall student performance. In other words, the aggregated accomplishments and academic achievement of the entire student body, which is the way standardized tests have always been framed and interpreted by public schools. What was different about No Child Left Behind, and you can see in the STAR program as a result, is the emphasis on the performance of student subgroups or student population subgroups that have an established history of academic underperformance. And so students' scores are disaggregated or separated out by race and ethnicity, by socioeconomic status, by English language proficiency, and by disability status. This is to ensure that all of these students from the underperforming subgroups are making adequate yearly progress. Once the test results are into the state level, the results are weighted and compiled and processed and combined and digested in along some crazy algorithm that the state uses, and it's boiled all the way down into a single number that represents student academic performance. and it's called the Academic Performance Index, or API. And every district has an API score. Every school in that district has its own API score. And every underperforming student population, racial and ethnic groups, low SES groups, English language learners, and students with disabilities, they also have API scores by subgroup. Individual students don't have an API score. They just have their regular test scores, which are reported to the school and to the families. And API scores range from 200 to 1,000. And the statewide performance target is that all schools should be at or above 800 on the API score range. Well, this is an unfortunate surprise. Apparently every other line of this table is blacked out. Grr. Okay, so the system is structured to lead to continuous improvement. And your goals or improvement goals are based on your current school or subgroup base API score. The base API was last year's score, and you want to improve over last year's score. So if your school scored in the 200 to 690 range, your growth target is 5% of the difference between the base API and 800. Oh, this is a beautiful slide. I hope you appreciate my everything here. When your school, I'm so sorry, when your school has an API of 691 to 795, you're expected to gain 5 points. So your target for, if your school is at 795, your target is 800. If your school is at 691, your target is 696 for that year. If your school's base is 796, your goal is to gain 4 points. 797, gain 3 points. 798, gain 2 points. 799, gain 1 point. Obviously, the goal is to get up to 800. And once your school reaches 800 or more, which is this bottom line, you have to maintain an API of at least 800. And I just also want to point out that districts have the option of requiring schools to set API targets for themselves that are over 800. So if you're in a high-performing district, like perhaps Palo Alto or Fremont Union High School District, Los Gatos, Saratoga Joint High School District, they may expect you to continue to grow beyond 800 so that everybody is continually improving, because until you get to 1,000, there's always room for improvement. As we discussed last quarter, the STAR test system is going to be replaced by the MAP testing system. The reason has to do with the implementation of the Common Core state standards. The STAR tests are aligned with the California State Content Standards, which have been replaced by the Common Core state standards. So we can't teach the Common Core and then assess student mastery of the Common Core with old tests that are not aligned to the content in the Common Core, because standards-based education requires you to establish the performance goals, teach that content, and then test student mastery of that content. There has to be alignment. That's part of the whole standards-based mindset. So right now we're in a transition year, and for certain, the STAR tests will be replaced by the measurement of academic performance and progress, which is the MAP, in the 2014 to 15 academic year. And MAP tests assess mastery of the Common Core. And currently this year, the MAP tests are being pilot tested in the state, and it's not entirely clear how the STAR tests and the MAP tests are going to coexist this year. And we'll have to see come spring. And I just want to mention that California has named the system MAP, but when we've been talking about the Smarter Balanced Assessment Consortium tests, the SBAC, this is the group that's developing the tests. And each state can call them whatever they want. And this is what California has decided to call them. Oops. Oh, yes. And I know we've looked at these two websites before, but I just wanted to get them into this film because they're really the central websites that you can go to for STAR-related data. The first is the California Department of Education website. And then you would go to, let's see, accountability. No, let me see. I want to make sure I give you the right info. Hang on just a moment while I'm looking for it. Okay, you go to this website and you hover over the testing and accountability button, and then you move on to the academic performance index indicator, then click on API reports, and then choose school reports, and then you can click on your placement school. And the second site is the EdData website. I know that we've looked at that before also. That's the one that enables you to easily find information about schools and districts and counties, and it has a lot of different pull-down menus and so on. So the California Department of Ed website has significantly different information from what's on the EdData site, but the EdData site is a little bit more user-friendly because it's designed for the public and not just for educators. So there you have a little overview of the current state of things right now in California. And if you have questions about any of this stuff or want further information, you know where to find me. Thanks. See you later.